Yes, I believe that at-home bio labs are quite ethical. I see nothing wrong with tinkering in one's shop. I mean, that's like wondering if at-home robotics is ethical. Yeah, robots could destroy the world just as easily as, some virus getting out of control. It's the same principle, just different mechanics.
I think they are ethical.
It really just depends. Like, it depends what you're doing with it. I guess it comes down if it's for harm or is it just for fun. It just depends on the situation.
Under some circumstances, I believe that at-home biolabs are ethical if you are not using any harmful materials or pathogens, and I don't see a reason not to have them.
Honestly, I'd probably ask to borrow it. I'd be rather intrigued. Uh, Perhaps I'd wonder, where they got their equipment. I'd wonder what they were working on. I'd probably enjoy discussing that quite a bit with them.
Because I would be scared because you don't know what they're doing in there.
At first, I would be concerned because it's a biohacking lab. It's not just a lab. And I don't know, I feel like I would have the moral feeling to, I don't know, tell someone. Because, I mean, they already told me, and I guess they're planning something. I mean, I'm aware of it, and I feel like it's my moral obligation to tell the authorities. I mean, it's just for safety and concern of others and myself.
If my neighbor had just a regular at-home biology lab, I'd probably think it was really cool and I'd want to go see it and see what they were working on. So I don't know if I'd have a problem with it. I don't think
No. I believe that if they've gone through the sufficient process to get a correct warrant for what they intend upon searching, then they have every right to go in and search.
Yes, I think I have the right.
I mean, by law, I mean, they already have the warrant, so I kind of have to let them in. But then, my personal belief, I wouldn't want to let them in. But again, the judge signed a warrant to let them in. I would have to let them in.
Yes, because if they don't have proof of me doing anything wrong, they shouldn't be able to enter my home without my permission.
Yes, they should be allowed to collect that evidence then. If they don't at that time, then it creates a circumstance where the evidence could be then hid if they went and had to return with a secondary warrant. And that could be dangerous to the public depending on the circumstances.
I think there should be a double warrant because they only have the warrant to enter my house. And
I mean, the police officers have standards, and if one of them is if it's on plain sight, they're able to collect it, and if it's not, they cannot unless they have a warrant. But again, if it's something suspicious and it's on plain sight, they are able to do that, and I won't be able to refuse. I mean, it's the law. What can I do?
No, I think if they have a warrant and if they have enough evidence that there is something suspicious going on, they should investigate. Maybe not like quarantine the whole house or, threats, but they should be able to, take an investigation and look around just to make sure that there's nothing, harmful happening or attack.
I think that description and, photograph, different things like that to identify myself as a suspect, then that would be fair and reasonable and within the rights of the law. As far as publishing anything beyond that, for example, in the book when Elle's music was posted, if I had some sort of piece that could be used in that manner, I mean, that's propaganda, that's staging by the media, and I don't think that would be that would be right.
no, because I have my own privacy.
I feel like if I am a suspect and they feel me as a threat to civilization, I guess they do have the right. I mean, with a description of who I am, my name, weight, and everything. I mean, that's okay. But anything beyond that, like I guess like more personal information about what I did, like exactly, that would be a violation. But I mean, if it's just for public safety and they're trying to reach out for me, and I guess they can do that.
Well, I mean, if I was the one escaping, obviously I'd be pretty upset if my information. But from an outside perspective, you probably want to know their name, where they're going, where the last that they've seen. But I mean, like not like their ID number or anything like that. But I think certain information should be released because the public needs to know where the fugitive is.
I think that was the wrong choice. I think he was in a position where he would have been okay to fight the charges as they stood.
It wasn't fair for Els because people just assumed that he was a bioterrorist, but they don't have evidence.
If the police has enough evidence to accuse Els of being a bioterrorist, I guess people they don't have, but they can make the assumption that Els is a bioterrorist. But otherwise, if it's, like I say, no proof, no evidence, I mean, you can't really do anything besides that. It's taking like personal opinion. But otherwise, I feel like there should be evidence for anybody to be considered a bioterrorist.
Yeah, I think that's pretty unfair because they weren't there to see the situation happen. They weren't there to assess the situation. So for the media or the radio or whoever to make these blatant statements that could or potentially be false, they're just feeding in false information in people's heads, and that's not really fair to Peter. Well, for one, he should have faced the police rather than running from the police or the authorities, because right then and there, that shows that he was doing something wrong. So they suspected, and running away from, the authorities is never a good thing. So he probably should have not done that, or went and turned himself in.
I believe it's done the opposite in this case because he's obviously cast in the light of a terrorist early on. They just simply assumed that he's guilty.
Well, nowadays, I don't know if that's being followed correctly, but I feel like as the police, they want what they want and they're willing to do what they can to get it. So I'm not really sure if it's being followed now, but it's a very controversial topic, especially with the past few incidents that had happened. I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, it's really controversial, but there are standards that the protocol should be followed, but nobody really knows. I mean, the police gets what they want when they want, and they're satisfied.
I think it's being done the opposite because the presumption of innocence is saying that you are innocent until proven guilty, but in the book, he was guilty until he was proven innocent. So I thought that was unfair.
No, so the notion that people are innocent until proven guilty really isn't always followed in real life, and it's definitely not followed in the book. They assumed Peter was planning a bioterrorism attack, or they're assuming he was planning something harmful for the country, the state, whatever. And so they didn't really, think of him as an innocent man. They just kind of invaded and had their suspicions and didn't question him. They didn't, well, partly because he ran away, but, they didn't really take the time to investigate. I think they just went in and were like, hey, what are you doing? This isn't right. They didn't even take time to ask what he was doing or what his goals were. So no, the notion that you're innocent until proven guilty is not followed in the book. Well, I mean, it depends. Under certain situations, it probably is followed. It depends on the case, but honestly, no, it's not always followed. People get unfair. Life's unfair sometimes, so